Let's have a conversation, shall we, on a Wednesday? Let's do it. I wonder how many people tuned in last night to the little, what would you call that? Announcement launch of sorts.
It's funny you say that because initially when you said people tuned in, I was thinking, was he going TGL, Miami Duke basketball?
No, I'm talking about Florida State, Mike Norvell interview.
And it should have been top of mind because I was doing the updates on the TC for it on the Tribal Council. So I was tuned in. I was ready to go.
Yeah. So we learned that there will be no, and the whispers were true. So we just start there. Why don't we start with the things we learned last night? Jeff Culhane talked with Mike Norvell. And they launched whatever the latest campaign thingy is. They've got 75 ways they want you to give money. But what's that one called?
Vision of Excellence.
Right. I remember it was stupid. So they have Vision of Excellence, and they're launching that campaign. And then along the way, there was a lot of conversation about the hires, the offseason, the upcoming tour of duty. But we learned that Florida State officially announced there will be no spring showcase. Spring game is no more, not at least this year. It is not. They've got to get that stadium ready to go. The renovations are ongoing. We had heard this a couple weeks back, right? We addressed it at the time. There had been whispers. I know that had been talked about on the message boards on warchant.com, Twitter. I'd gotten emails and texts alike. Everybody kind of, well, we didn't know anything official. We were just hearing that it was not going to be played in all likelihood.
Yeah, that it was not going to be played here, certainly. Would they move it? Maybe, but it ain't going to be here. Yeah.
Well, and you were trying to juxtapose whether or not it was smart to play it in order to raise money. Like, but could you really, how much are you going to raise if you say, oh, let's take it over to Orlando or Jacksonville or wherever?
Well, what's strange is they got into that, and the line was about NCAA restrictions on the calendar, and they might lose a day of practice. Like that was the implication that somehow
can't afford to do that.
No, certainly not. And if that's the case, then hell no. Now I wonder if it could be that end. I don't know. You just think about the cost of what it would take to book all the hotels and all the player arrangements You get the equipment trunk to go down there, equipment truck to come back up, and that has a lot of cost to it. For what, $10 a head to get into Camping World Stadium in Orlando? I don't know. Maybe you end up in the red for a trip like that.
Well, you could also get accosted on your way into Camping World Stadium for a spring game. That doesn't seem worth it.
Yeah.
I'll take a risk for the Cheez-It Bowl, but I don't know.
But if they were going to lose any time at all on the practice fields or in the meeting room, yeah, then don't do it.
Not 1 minute. Not one effing minute. You go 2-10, you got to find a way to find more minutes and hours in the day, not less. You need to cheat. You need to be in that underground bunker we talked about all those years ago. They should be practicing right now against every rule, welcoming every possible recruit. Kids for 2028, come on in. Let's go. We're in here practicing. Got to get better. So I was fine with it. You'll see it when we beat Alabama. What a moment that'll be. You get to walk into the crib, the brand new crib, and you go, wow, nice joint. And we beat Alabama to boot.
I got to tell you, Play 17 looks pretty complex. I'm glad they didn't have a showcase and wasted, any time, because they really needed that extra practice or two to get Play 17 to work for us.
So let me begin here. I want to begin by saying, we offer services. The Jeff Cameron Show offers a lot of services.
Yeah, you might think we're kidding, but we're not.
Well, yes and no. It's tongue-in-cheek sometimes, not
until
others.
You get paid for it.
Yeah. Now we provide entertainment on a daily basis.
And it's money in pocket, not tongue-in-cheek.
Insight, opinion, you name it. We sometimes allow for, certainly, community, a shared experience, a platform by which to vent. You can yell at me or yell at Tom or just yell or say, right on, I agree, or something in between on a daily basis. It's great. You can do it with terrestrial radio. You can do it with a podcast. You can do it with the YouTube feed. So many ways by which to join the community all the time. And then the other things that we provide, Jeff Cameron Show PR firm, in which we assess situations all around the sports world. We'll take a look at something and say, this could have really been avoided rather easily. And we'll cite over the years, I've talked about breaking out the laminated folder and here's the placard you need for this one. Sometimes it's just tell them what happened. Sometimes it's like, okay, we got to lie. We're going to lie, and it's going to be a very convoluted, over-the-top lie as not to be questioned.
So, well, hang on now.
And everything in between.
Legally, we can't say that. You know, what we're going to do is just be very, very vanilla and general. And when somebody asks a direct question,
we'll answer the question we wished had been asked.
Or we just say next question.
Yeah. Whatever it's going to be.
I'm referring you to the statement we released.
Yeah. Dodge, whatever you got to do, manipulate. I mean, this PR firms do all of these things. Many of them well. I think we would be elite. I've said it before. I think we are the guys for the job. Now, and I don't take that lightly because I wasn't going to let just anybody into the JCS PR firm. Tom had to earn his way in. Now, he earned it very early on. I could see he was a man who was savvy, who understood situations, could read between the lines, knew what was what, would be a guy that I could go into the room with and say, Tom, we've got a doozy in this one. We're going to really have to. We're going to have to earn our money on this one.
I'm the guy you never see. I'm the one in the back office. That's me.
All right. So there's that. And then also we've offered media training over the years. Lots of media training. Typically, I offer the media training aspect of the JCS to the kids that are going to accompany the team to Charlotte, you know, for the ACC kickoff. You're going to have a lot of interviews. There are going to be a lot of questions. A lot of times there's gotcha moments that you have to be prepared for. There are uncomfortable truths that you'll have to answer for. There are opportunities to seize upon a moment to elevate the program yourself and your brethren. Times in which you have to deftly evade. Lots of things that might come your way if you're going to be speaking to an audience, a large audience, and to several markets, right? People in different places throughout the Southeast typically, but really even nationally, because Florida State is a national brand, an iconic brand. So you got to have a handle.
Iconic indeed.
On all of these things. And so it is with that. In the spirit of that I say, please, God, Mike, sir, I am available. We can work on it. There's got to be a way to allow for pauses between answers that do not feature you saying, you know. You know. You know. You know. Sometimes didn't even finish. You know. You know, was often what was used in between. A desperate attempt to reach out to you know without actually saying you know. There was some real full-throated, elongated you knows along with stutter F you knows. But there was always an omnipresent you know waiting in the wings. We got to do better. It jumbles the message. I can't hear what you're saying. I'm too busy deflecting all the you knows coming my way. I'd like to hear the meat of the message, but instead I'm inundated with you knows.
You're Neo in the Matrix.
Oh, exactly. Fast and furious you knows from all angles. And we've just got to do better. And it's gotten worse. I have to tell you, Tom, I really believe if you go back, you will note that the you knows have gotten more frequent, more frantic, more desperate. Now, perhaps this is the byproduct of a season that was off the rails, to say the least. That perhaps it's a little bit like, you know, in a situation, you know, in which you're overwhelmed. Some people rise to the moment, others are in the fetal position. This could have been the verbal equivalent of the fetal position.
The healing process.
Mm-hmm.
It's all part of the healing process.
I would argue that no recorded discussion in history, not even that between two 12-year-old girls featured as many you knows as we heard last night.
That would be like that they would say.
Or both. Or both. It's impossible. We got to get a handle on it. We've got to get a handle on it. It's possible. I'm not trying to take unnecessary shots. This is an honest assessment of the skills needed to have this kind of discourse without the verbal fillers. We've all had verbal crutches. I have many over the years. But, man, I don't think I ever machine gunned as many you knows as I heard last night. There's no way.
Well, at some point, it might cost you some QR code conversions because people might get distracted by it. That's the thing. If you're trying to pitch, this is where I'm with you in the PR firm side of things. If we're trying to make a pitch, there has to be conviction. And I would point Mike Norvell to his post-game press conference after the Florida loss for a moment of conviction. The fire in the eyes. Now, you can harness that and use it for good and for positive. The 0-4 question. That moment goes quasi-viral nationally. Certainly in the Florida State community, it goes viral. That's a moment of passion. It's from the heart. It's from the gut. That plays. And we need you to play at that level in order for people to pay at a level that we need them to pay at. Check out this QR code for the vision of excellence. Let's keep it. There we go. Let's keep it to the bullet points here.
Listen, all jokes aside, that was annoying, to say the least. Difficult to hear, to listen to stay engaged with. It is something that I would think somebody would have a conversation with him about. He's a head football coach. He's going to be in front of the press a lot. He's been in the press a lot. I would, again, argue and submit to you that it's gotten worse. I do think it's the byproduct of really uncomfortable situations. I do think it is a nervous tick centered around having to answer the really tough questions about a god-awful year that he would rather forget. Now, he understands. He's never run from it. I'll give him a lot of credit for certainly taking the blame, rightfully so. Hell, he's even apologized for that season. There were times where I almost thought he was effusive with the apologies. It's unnecessary. It's self-explanatory. It is self-evident. 2-10 ain't going to work at Florida State. You won't be here much longer if we have a similar season. That is understood. Everybody gets it. Let's just soldier on. I do need you to take blame for it. You did it already. I do need you to stand up and obviously hold on to what it was and embrace that you're responsible for that. I got it. But let's move forward here. I do think there's a nervous element to it. There's no question.
I think it's also a PR element when you know that there are things that you need to say, but you want to be very careful on how you say it. That is when the verbal filler comes in. If you speak from the heart, watch the verbal fillers go away. For example, Brandon says in the chat, is this why he can't close on signing day? And he has an emoji where he's laughing.
Yeah.
Well, to a person, every kid and parent that interacts with Mike Norvell when they visit campus or he comes into their high schools or their living rooms for an in-home visit, they say his energy is unmatched because we've seen that guy. You know that guy in practice. You've seen that guy before the lights come on for a press conference. There are times where before a spring or a fall camp press conference, you get the energy Mike Norvell that the players get, that certainly his colleagues get, which is unfiltered and ready to go. But then when it's time to deliver a message before the press, it's a different light comes on, which is I need to steer this message the way it needs to go. People want to hear it from here. They want to hear it from deep in the heart about how pissed off you are and how determined you are to turn this thing around, and you want to lead the way, and I need you to come along with me. They need a recruiting pitch is what they need. That's what last night I think was intended to be.
Well, one of the things that happens with Mike, and this is an honest discussion, this isn't meant to just nitpick or anything like that. I think one of the things that happens with Mike is that he is carefully crafting the message. He's careful with his words. I appreciate that. So Life Spectator asked a moment ago, how is this much different than, and I'm paraphrasing what he said, to the over-caffeinated version of Jimbo, the hyper-caffeinated Jimbo. We used to make fun of him too, with all the non-sequiturs. Jimbo would be going a million miles a minute. You got the gist of what he was trying to say. You understood where it was headed, but he abruptly took a right turn or a left turn mid-sentence once he felt the point had been made and he had another one he wanted to make. And so it really it wasn't coherent. If you were somebody who had to dictate that, if you were a secretary dictating that, good luck. I mean, if you had to go word for word,
sure,
it would be a jumbled mess. But you got concept to concept or thought to thought and kind of understood where he was going, even though he couldn't help himself and would interrupt himself in a way. It was almost, at times it could be endearing and downright annoying both. It was something to behold. You could see the wheels turning in the brain.
Every once in a while, he'd exhale from exhaustion. And it's
I just there's somebody. The thing is, in with society, and you would just go, okay, I kind of know what you were about to say there, but so this is on a serious note. I do think Mike has gotten worse. I think the 2-10 season caused some of this. I do believe that to be true. I think when you're constantly having to answer for something that you're embarrassed about and angered about, it elicits emotion. And sometimes when you're really emotional, you have a hard time succinctly stating what it is you want to say. We've done this, all of us have, in arguments. When you're emotional, when you care about what the person across from you thinks and says. If it's somebody you don't care about, you just move on. You don't spend a lot of time with it. But if it's somebody you love and or respect and truly care about what they have to say, when you're in an argument with a person like that, it's weighty. Because, let's say Tom and I, we're in an argument. I care deeply about what Tom thinks, and I'd like to think he does me too. We're friends. We're colleagues, but we're also dear friends. That would turn into sort of a nervous banter at first, and then we'd have to kind of, okay, we're having an argument here. Let's make our points. I feel like with him, he is frustrated and angered, and he understands that the fan base is too. So you're already at a place where you're on edge.
It's also coming off being sick. He wasn't available to do the OVs this weekend. I think on Sunday he wasn't available.
Right. So any number of factors.
Not feeling his best.
But buddy, we gotta be aware of our situation and take a deep breath. Slow down. I like that you're careful about framing a message. I like that you're careful about the things you say regarding your team, regarding players, coaches, schedules, games. These are all important to get right. And I get that you want to make sure you don't accidentally say something that would be taken the wrong way by an assistant coach or a player or even the fan base. To some extent, I get that.
It's the public speaking version of watching a pitcher trying to guide a pitch into the strike zone into a perfect place instead of throwing the ball. You throw your pitch. We've all seen that. And the guy he's either nibbling or you can tell he's not cutting it loose. He doesn't feel command of the pitches. Maybe the bullpen before coming into the game or the warm up on the mound didn't go well. And you could just see it. He's not letting it go. Usually you know this with your starting pitchers because you've seen so many of their times through. And in college it happens all the time. Throw the ball. Throw it. And that's what I would say if I'm watching that delivery and we were the PR service taking a retainer, a hefty one from Florida State. Say, let it go.
You'd have said it if you were Kevin O'Connell the other night. Throw the ball, Sam.
Right.
Sweet Jesus.
Don't hold the ball. Let it go.
You wouldn't stutter your F through that one. Come on, Sam.
The most compelling moments in your time here in front of the camera are when you let it loose because that's who you are. You are not Arbor Channel talking about trees guy. You are Mr. Gusto. That's who you are in the practice fields. That's who you are when they take the time to release cinematic recaps, when they're not losing 10 out of 12 games. That's who you are at the dais when you're fired up. People love that guy. That's the guy that we need to sell booster memberships.
I do think it matters. That's the other reason I'm bringing it up. I do think it matters. I'm not solely saying this just to be funny or tongue-in-cheek or sarcastic or, I let every linger today. I'm doing this because he has gotten worse, and I would certainly hope somebody has made him aware of it. It's not the end of the world. The gist of what they had to say was very predictable. This was an awful lot about, hey, we really like our new coaches. We feel good about the recruiting class we brought in. We're excited about the players in the transfer portal. We're going to get back to some of the things that led us to have success. You can be a part of it. Give money now. I got it. This was always going to be what that was.
It was the Antique Car Museum show, the signing day special of yesteryear in February. That's what this was. I didn't know what it was going to be when it happened because it says Vision of Excellence, Team Intel. You didn't know if there were going to be guests or if there were going to be different segments or PowerPoint presentations or what. It's a booster call. So I figured there might be some PowerPoints. But instead, what it ended up being, you figure it out about 20 minutes in when Culhane has his list of questions and he's asking about every single new coach hire. Oh, so this is essentially the Antique Car Museum show where you're going to recap everything. You might get a question or two in there with some forward-facing insight, but this is about hyping up the new players, new coaches, new energy. Give me your money. Like that was the goal.
Here's why you should give us your money is what that is too. Along with clarification about what's going to happen leading up to and after the spring game or the spring showcase. That's not going to be. That's important that you learn that. That's what that was. So we got some answers to lingering questions. We got to hear the head coach speak about the hires and speak about the players that they're bringing in. You got some insight into that. And then obviously this campaign as well.
I know not a lot of you out there like to make the trip up to Tallahassee in April. And sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. But if you are those folks who love to make the trip, we could use an increase in your contribution and there's not going to be a spring game. All right. Good night, everybody. Thank you very much. It's the Dave Chappelle knocking down the pitcher of water before he runs out of the room.
I think it's also an illustration of how very difficult it must be knowing that you're asking for people's money, continued support after going 2-10. Let's just be honest. Mike is very aware of how difficult it is to go back to the well after having offered up that cup of water with the last bucket we pulled. I mean, goodness gracious.
And this is all part of it too. You get this because you've spoken before audiences and in this setting, and it's different when it was just a radio mic versus a camera. There's an adjustment for every style. The Warchant report back in the day in Gene's man cave.
Very different when I'm hosting that than hosting the show.
You're not getting feedback. He's alone in his living room speaking to a laptop. You can't feed off of the crowd. That's not a booster circuit event where you can at least gauge what the crowd wants, what they need, and they announce that they're doing booster stops in Pensacola and Orlando. That is going to have a different feel because you get the feedback off of the crowd instead of this is COVID and I'm doing a Zoom workshop right now. That's the other part. So there are challenges there, but when he's pissed off, Mike Norvell, that's the compelling one that's going to get conversions. That would be the 2 cents. That guy sells things.
We have an audio clip not to highlight the you-knows. That would be an aholic move on my part. I've already documented it. They were incredibly, they were omnipresent.
In your defense, you're not the only one that realized this. Our comments on the video that we posted and the boards, it was noticed.
Well, I didn't look at that, but I don't know how somebody couldn't. It took 5 seconds to get pissed off. Listening to it, I felt compelled to yell. So when my kids...
What would you yell? Just a nonsense noise?
No, I couldn't repeat that.
Oh, you'd actually say words.
Yeah, GD, get it together. There's that. But there's also, I remember when my oldest was in middle school, and I think he was around a bunch of kids that at the time were using the filler like. Like is still used way too much.
Oh, it happens to me all the time.
We're all guilty of it to varying degrees. We're all guilty of verbal fillers. I am every day on the show.
They're like a virus.
Nobody's perfect. Yeah, they seep into your conversations. It usually takes somebody to say to you, my man. But for me, it drove me nuts. It was, I'm just, and now it's going to be on my mind because of all the you-knows. But it was present all the time because my wife works in the school system, and I would hear kids talk. I'd go to events and these things. It would drive me nuts. And I remember having to correct Bryce. I'm like, you didn't like anything. You either did or did not do that. You either did or did not say that. There was no liking of any of this. You didn't go to school today. You went to school today. End of story. Unless you're comparing and contrasting something similar, there is no like here. You didn't do that. It's not like the time you were 9 years old and you went to camp.
Drop in as though instead. Can you mix in an as though?
Just say what you did or didn't do. Direct language. So that used to drive me nuts, and my kids probably were driven nuts by me interrupting them every trying to tell a story with, nope, it wasn't like anything. But it worked. It worked. They don't do it anymore. Thankfully. It worked. It can work here too. Just, you can sit across from it, play it, and say, you hear that? That's tough. That's a toughie. Got to work on this one. I do want to play the audio because I want to talk about maybe what it reveals, not the whole audio. Obviously, we're not doing that. An audio clip, a singular audio clip. And I want you and I to talk about what we think that says. To me, it said an awful lot. I'll tell you what it is in a moment. We'll hear it in a second. Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio and Warchant TV.
Power Mill Training Academy equips motivated athletes focused on baseball and softball with the specific tools to reach their true potential. Now, you'll read that if you go to their website, but I'm here to tell you that, look, whether it's your daughter wanting to play softball, your son wants to play baseball, or maybe they just want to have fun and get the most out of their abilities, and that's where Power Mill comes into play. They've got coaches and camps that teach for every level of play for your son or your daughter. To learn more, go to PowerMillSports.com.
Listen to what people are saying about ACL Home Inspections.
They took the time to explain every detail, providing clear insights and answering all of my questions.
I needed an inspection quickly. ACL scheduled me within 24 hours, and the inspector was able to arrive early. That was a huge bonus, and my 2 dogs absolutely adore him.
ACL Home Inspections will accompany you on a walkthrough inspection of the home you want to buy, then provide you with an easy-to-read digital report the same day. For homeowners planning to list their house on the market before putting it up for sale, ACL will provide you a pre-listing inspection.
As a very analytical person, I want to see all the details and ask questions. I interviewed 3 home inspection companies and was very impressed by ACL.
See for yourself what people are saying. Search ACL Home Inspections and find out more at aclhomeinspections.com or call 850-312-8919. 850-312-8919.
222-7722. ACL Electric is what we do.
Hi, this is Jeremy Parker, owner of Parker Services AC and Electrical. As we welcome the new year, I want to take a moment to thank you, our loyal customers, for trusting us to keep your homes in Tallahassee, Crawfordville, and the surrounding areas comfortable throughout the seasons. It's been our honor to serve you in 2024, and we look forward to providing the same dependable service in 2025. From everyone at Parker Services, we wish you and your family a happy, healthy, and comfortable new year. Here's to new beginnings and lasting comfort.
222-7722.
Florida license CMC 050334 and EC 130144434.
This announcement is brought to you by Fonville Lewis Messer McConaughey.
If you're driving right now, you should know there's an 80% chance that the cars all around you don't carry any bodily injury insurance. Most people don't realize it, but in Florida, all the law requires is that drivers carry property damage insurance. This means that the texting teen drifting over into your lane or the drag racer on your rear bumper have no way of compensating you or your loved ones when they cause a crash. And this should scare the hell out of you. Fortunately, there's an easy way to protect your family from this, and it's called uninsured motorist coverage. It's an absolute must, but a lot of insurance companies are convincing folks to drop it just to save a few dollars. Take it from the personal injury experts. Don't. At Fonville Lewis Messer McConaughey, we've recovered millions of dollars in uninsured motorist coverage in crashes where our clients would have otherwise received nothing. So please, call your agent right now and make sure you have uninsured motorist coverage on your policy. We hope you'll never need it, but we'll be here for you if you ever do. Fonville Lewis Messer McConaughey. Don't settle for less.
Science-backed, technology-tracked, and coach-led. Hey, Jeff Cameron here. You've heard me rave about the benefits of Orange Theory Fitness and the proven track record of science-backed interval training. Well, now Orange Theory Fitness has done it again, adding more ways for you to improve your health and look your best. In addition to the always great standard workouts, OTF has added Tread 50 and Strength 50 for those in the mood to just lift for an afternoon or attack those cardio goals for the day. Take the guesswork out of exercise. Make sure you're getting the most out of each and every workout. Orange Theory Fitness, location Midtown Tallahassee and Village Square Boulevard.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
Jeff Cameron Show rolling on a Balls McWednesday. Thanks for being here. Tom, get the clip ready if you would, sir, so we can discuss what I teased a moment ago, because I do think this was something that you could latch on to and discern some meaning behind beyond the pitches and the information. This was something that I thought, okay, I see what he means and I know why.
Listen early for the cue.
Okay, here we go.
Really, everybody defensively, I wanted to see elite level effort, a relentless pursuit of the ball, and just a knack to be able to go make plays. And I think when you look at that defensive front, they all have great size, ability. They've been able to impact the quarterback. You really get a sense that every guy that we brought in on that defensive front, their best football is in front of them.
All right, so again, sorry now that I've highlighted it, it's all you're ever going to hear until it's remedied. But between the there was a man stating that he is going to demand and was desperately searching for effort, which tells you all you need to know about what was lacking in addition to many other things, but what in particular was most unforgivable about last year's team.
I can hit that again and cut it off early if you'd like.
Well, you're going to have to.
Really, everybody defensively, I wanted to see elite level effort, a relentless pursuit.
Stop there. Stop. That's all you needed to do. The rest will infiltrate our forms of speech and will never be the same. So just stop it there and let's move forward.
I think the worst virus in sports talk is from a blank standpoint. That took years for people to shake. Anyway,
it's been in the lexicon for going on a good 25 years, though. I remember when it started. I remember driving home from a game and listening to Tom Block interview a player who said, as verbal filler, and me being somewhat alarmed by it to the point of wanting to call Tom and say, hey, can you tell that dude to stop doing that? Anyhow, and then it just, from there, everybody did.
The king before this performance is Victor Hedman, Tampa Bay Lightning defenseman. English is his second language, or maybe his fifth. I don't know. He speaks Swedish, so I give him a little bit of leeway. However, he's been in the country for more than half his life, and he is, for the most part, the champion. My favorite filler of all time is Nigel Bradham. Do you remember what his filler was?
I don't.
Most definitely. After every question, most definitely was the first two words, the first pair of words he'd utter before.
Leonard Hamilton has one too. Is it 100%? I'd go back and
know his.
Yeah, he's got one, or he had one. He may have.
I always like the cadence of his opening statement because he makes a ton of points about the game, and there's a pause. He goes second half, and then he talks about what happened in the second. 20 minutes.
It's nicely done.
Yeah.
So the point about the effort, it's hard to hear. It's hard to hear because you're reminded that is a thing, that is a thing, and it can never be a thing. It can never be a thing that we're talking about. It ought not. You can be bad for lots of reasons. I have reiterated this time and again that after a certain number of losses last year, my anger had less to do with the losses and more to do with the hows and whys that we got to these losses. Accrued these losses. It was the lack of effort that offended fans, quite literally offended fans, that made them unwatchable at times and certainly unlikable. And that seemed to hurt more than anything. You have years in which you suffer incredible misfortune. You lose your starting left tackle. You lose your starting right tackle. You lose your star quarterback. You lose the middle linebacker. You lose a star corner, all within 2 weeks of each other. Your team is reeling. You have to fall back on freshmen to start in positions that you did not project them to start at for 2 years. You're in a situation where you're outmanned. You have a line that can't hold up because you've had to go youth movement. Any number of things that could cause you to lose games against teams with like talent, and you might forgive it. You'd say, well, these aren't excuses. These are the hows and whys. These are the things that happen that lead to poor results sometimes. But when those things also include a sense that some members of your team who play an awful lot on Saturdays are not trying very hard, it's even more damning, and certainly it is unforgivable. And it makes you ask big questions, big picture questions about the future of the program and the coach and can this be salvaged? And I think that's how, it's not just 2-10. I think that's how it ended up being the way that it was, where people just thought, well, I'm going to throw my hands up. You had ardent supporters of Mike Norvell who somewhere along the way went, I can't defend this. I cannot. I'd like to because I like him. I'd like to because he's had success. I'd like to. I feel compelled to. He seems like a good guy. His heart's in the right place. He works hard. We've had success. All reasons I want to support, but this cannot be. And so when you hear that, when he is talking about effort, at least he certainly recognizes that that was a problem a year ago and that it was pervasive. It's the first thing he says about what they were looking for when recruiting defensive talent in the portal. Every one of them had to be guys that showed a ton of effort on film when they watched them. Of course, they had to have ability. You would start there. But then from there, in addition to your ability to play and fit into a role that we need, what else am I looking for? Well, do you try hard? Do you play real hard? Because we didn't have that last year. And man, that's the definition of starting from scratch. You presume day one that the kids across from you that you're coaching are going to give you effort. We can't have, this is a non-starter. At every level of sports, every level, 6-year-olds, 26-year-olds. The baseline understanding here, if we're going to participate, is that you're going to try your damnedest, your hardest, your best every day. Some days you'll perform better than others. Got it. But effort's never going to be something that I'm questioning. And that leads me to another conclusion, which is a good one, which is one that I think is most certainly going to be true about next year's team. I'll tell you what it is in a second. Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
This is meteorologist Paul Trombley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. Cloudy skies expected this afternoon with daytime highs approaching 58. Winds out of the northeast, 5 to 10 miles per hour. Slight chance of rain showers tonight. Lows dips down to about 40. Cloudy skies expected. Ample sunshine expected tomorrow. Slight chance for showers. Highs level off around 59. This report is brought to you by The Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Right now, it's 55 degrees.
The best happy hour in the city is at Café de Martín and El Bar. All day, every day, you can find great deals at Café de Martín while enjoying the best outdoor seating Tallahassee has to offer. Sip away on 2-for-1 house wines, chilcanos, and margaritas all day long, Monday through Thursday. Plus 2-for-1 pisco sours and margaritas on Fridays and Saturdays, and 2-for-1 mimosas for Sunday brunch. Come join us at Café de Martín, where every hour is happy hour, in the Esposito Shopping Center on Capitol Circle Northeast.
Texting enrolls you into recurring automated text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
Hey, Dan, how you doing? Haven't seen you around the gym. Yeah, I've really fallen off. Since I turned 40, I just don't get the results I used to get. Let me lower testosterone. I went through it a while back. I got Nugenix Total T, and it's made a huge difference for me. I've seen that ad on TV. Is it for real? Oh, yeah. The key ingredient is something called Tesnor, which helps boost free and total testosterone levels to help you trim up and stay lean. And it's made a difference for you? Man, I feel like I'm in my 20s again, at work, in the gym, and in the bedroom. Are they still giving out complimentary bottles for people to try for themselves? Yeah, you just need to send them a text. Text CUT to 321-321 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T. Plus, text now and we'll include a bottle of Nugenix Thermo, our most powerful fat incinerator ever, to help you get back into shape fast, absolutely free. Text CUT to 321-321. That's CUT to 321-321.
Products and statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease or illness.
There is no Bigfoot, Eddie. Would you stop with that nonsense?
There's a Bigfoot, Jeff.
I wish there were. By the way, I don't want you to point to me as the guy that takes all the fun out of the room. I wish there was the Loch Ness Monster. I wish there was the Bigfoot. I wish there was the Chupacabra. All the things.
They're all mythical except for the Bigfoot. The Sasquatch.
The Bigfoot?
The Bigfoot. There's big feet. There's lots of them.
So like different, breeds, like different kinds.
There's like families. There's different families. And,
so there's if they're in the snow, you call them a Sasquatch
or the Yeti, right?
Yep,
and then here in Florida, that's a skunk ape. And
never heard that one. By the way, why do you think it's real? We would have found them by now.
They're the hide and seek champions of the world. Nobody finds the Bigfoot.
I think you believe in Bigfoot.
I do believe in Bigfoot.
You don't believe.
I believe in Bigfoot.
Don't tell anybody you believe in Bigfoot.
I would go look for Bigfoot, but he scares me.
Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
So I just mentioned that I think when you hear the head coach talking about one of the facets of play that he's looking for in guys that he's watching on film or guys that they recruited in the portal is effort. It's disappointing. It's somewhat depressing to think about what that means in regards to what they did or did not have here a year ago. But I also think it leads to something that we can be certain of as we get set to embark on this off season and on into the spring football camp, which will get us all juiced and jazzed and ready to go for fall camp because we'll get a glimpse of the new coaches and we'll see the new players. And you're really ready to flush last year. So you're already eagerly anticipating and awaiting these benchmarks of the off season. I think bare minimum, it is safe to say that Florida State will, on the surface, appear, and I think in the record book, be a much better football team than they were a year ago. Now, the knee-jerk response to that would be they couldn't be much worse. It would almost be impossible at Florida State to be much worse. And I would agree with that. But for the reasons that I'm stating is that they will be buttoned up. They will be on defense, very well coached. Not to say they won't be on offense. I'm just pointing out that there were real communication issues and a lack of coordination at times defensively off and on during Fuller's tenure here. It wasn't just last year. And I think that will change. I think that will certainly change. But what will seem like a massive leap forward will be born out of effort alone. When you get used to watching pedestrian play, miscommunication, poor effort game to game, quarter to quarter, when you see a semblance of a well-organized defense, replete with guys that give everything they have play to play, game to game, you're going to think that they are vastly improved. And I think, honestly, as rudimentary as that sounds, that's going to be true. Just playing really hard consistently and knowing where to be and communicating well, pretty low bar. That alone will guarantee you that Florida State is infinitely better than they were a year ago. Communicating well, knowing what you're doing, and playing hard will put Florida State at a place where, bare minimum, they're a 500 football team. It's because you have the players to ensure, and you play in a conference that ensures you're going to win 6-7 games just doing that.
Yeah, that's a different way of saying it's very hard to go 2-10 with that roster. You're saying it the opposite way, from the improvement side of the equation, rather than the negative way, which we've lived for a while, which is, hey man, that roster might not have been 10-2 good. Could have been dead wrong about that. Probably was. It wasn't 2-10 good or 2-10 bad. You have to try to land at 2-10 with last year's schedule. There a lot of things have to go wrong. And
Well,
it's a different way of approaching the same thing you're saying.
Yeah, buddy, what has to go wrong is not only do you play poorly in the games, but there are mitigating factors. There are guys that lack leadership. There are games in which effort's in question. There's certainly an element of players tuning out coaches. I mean, he just made a bunch of changes, as he noted, leadership changes. That's a nice way of saying I fired a bunch of guys and hired some new ones. We have leadership changes. Yeah, leadership changes abound. Why? Well, we know why. But it's not a singular thing that happened that led to that. It's now that singular thing, you could say it boils down to wins and losses. But how you arrive at 10 losses at a place like Florida State, it's not one thing. And because it's not, it requires you to make leadership changes. Lots of them. I'm going to be very curious to see how that manifests. What do we lay eyes on in the spring? They're starting the tour of duty. They're getting ready to get after it. I don't know what we'll glean from that. Every program in America has some sort of labeled, whatever it is, militaristic sounding thing in the offseason that they do to get better, to get stronger, to be in great shape, to train and reshape their bodies. But yeah, it is a foundation. It's a very important foundation. It is a time in which you can come together and agree upon the level of effort and sacrifice you're willing to make for one another. It matters. But at the same time, after a 2-10 season, it's not something that matters that a fan base wants to hear about per se. They understand it's happening, and they understand the necessity of it, and they understand it's the bedrock of success moving forward to some degree. But yeah, they heard all of that last tour of duty, and we went 2-10.
Yeah, basically what we don't need to hear is, or the fan base doesn't need to hear, is this is the fastest, most explosive tour of duty that we've had so far in my time at Florida State.
Well, I don't think he'll ever say it again, even if it were true.
Probably not. Now, what was interesting last night is he was talking about new systems that they have to integrate as he was describing the winter and spring schedule. Reflecting on it and looking back at it this morning and rewatching it, I don't know if that was in reference to spring camp itself or the tour of duty, but if we do get a look at the tour of duty,
if there's something different, we'll have to report it, document it, and talk about it.
It'll be interesting to see if they change it on that level. We know that changes are coming to practice. There have to be, because it was 2-10 and you got 2 new coordinators. They're going to want to run practice differently, and they have the autonomy to do so. But I wonder if changes make their way all the way down to Coach Storms and how the tour of duty is laid out. It's not that they do the same workout schedule every day. When we've gone over different years, you've seen different drills. I'm not saying it's always been cookie cutter, one way, always. But if there's any type of different pace to it, anything that's drastically different, it will be interesting to see if it made it to the strength level. Because if it did, that tells you that they're looking at all aspects of the foundation. There's a corporate term that Mike Norvell probably would say. All aspects in the foundation of what we do. I wonder if it trickles down to that level of how they do their off-season training.
Yeah, I don't think Florida State's problems were rooted in the strength and conditioning and nutritional programs, but I understand your point, and it's certainly a valid one. I wonder how many people are going to want to hear about it, but yeah, certainly if the things have changed, that's worth noting.
Well, is there a different way to test the mettle of your guys to detect if they're really engaged or not? Maybe there's a way to do that. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's for a strength coach who's paid over $1 million a year to figure out. But I think that's part of this off-season's task versus last year's, is to be able to detect an issue before the issue becomes a Dublin performance and a Monday night performance in your home stadium.
Swap alcohol for a guilt-free option. Here you go. America's only USDA organic THC gummy. could all use the cornbread THC gummies that are, by the way, 100% legal, real THC, no synthetics, 100% legal hemp, fast and free shipping, and I'm saving you a bunch of money. Whether you're doing dry January or just looking for a healthier way to relax and have a guilt-free good time, try Cornbread's THC gummies right now. Jeff Cameron Show listeners can save 30% on their first order. Just head to cornbreadhemp.com/warchant. Use code warchant at checkout. That's cornbreadhemp.com. Warchant, code warchant, Cornbread Hemp. That is the good life. We got time. We got time. It's a beautiful thing. I got time to say this. I'll answer Terry's question in a minute. Saw it in the chat. Why don't y'all talk about leaving the ACC anymore? Oh, we do, Terry. If you could be president on the golf course with Tom Lang and I, you would hear
well, what would life be like
incessant conversations about why it is that we should be leaving the ACC, and I can't wait to hear more.
But as it pertains to news reports, there's nothing.
There hasn't been any. That's the problem. There hasn't been any news on that front. We're all eagerly anticipating the February 1st calendar roll around so that we can find out what ESPN says to the ACC regarding the extension or lack thereof of the contract. That will probably provide some fodder. Hour number 2 forthcoming. Stay with Jeff Cameron Show 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
There's nothing like relaxing in a hot tub after a long day. But if you don't have one, you're truly missing out. Hot tubs and spas have tremendous health benefits, besides just helping you relax. Like improving your sleep, they help with pain relief. They help to better your cardiovascular health, and so much more. And this season is the perfect season to finally buy what you've been wishing for. Pinch a Penny Pool, Patio, and Spas has the hot tubs you need for the price you want. Come shop our huge 12,000 square foot showroom and save today. There's over 50 hot tubs in stock right now, so you won't have to wait weeks on end for that delivery to finally come to town. If you're ready to relax, we're here to show you how. Pinch a Penny Pool, Patios, and Spas. Come visit our huge showroom at 2473 Greer Road with over 50 hot tubs to choose from. You'll be glad you did.
Don't miss TSC Tuesdays every Tuesday morning at 7:30 a.m. during the Greg Tish Show. Find out what's happening at Tallahassee State College every Tuesday at 7:30 a.m. on Real Talk 93.3 FM.
Hey, everybody, this is Shannon Young with Cross Country Mortgage. Been in the industry now for 22 years. I just made the move over to the nation's largest retail lender, Cross Country Mortgage, here to serve you in 7 states, including Florida, Georgia, Alabama, the Carolinas, Tennessee, and the state of Texas. Here to offer better service, better rates, and if you were thinking about buying or if you've been on the fence and been waiting to call me, now is the time. You can still find me at loansforknowles.com. That is, again, loansforknowles.com. I've helped thousands of fellow Knowles get into their dream home, and I can't wait to help you get into yours. Give me a call today. I'm at 954-369-6171, or go to loansforknowles.com. Again, that's 954-369-6171, and that's loansforknowles.com.
Equal housing NMLR 373031.
There's fun to be had every night at the Corner Pocket. Take home prizes on Trivia Tuesdays and Beer Bingo Thursdays. And kickstart your weekend with Martini Fridays. Plus happy hour runs every weekday and game day specials every time the Knowles take the field. Watch all the best games at the Corner Pocket's Vegas Wall, featuring 560 inches of flat screen TV heaven.
Oh, really?
The best food, the best drinks, and the best place to watch all the games. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
This is Brian Kilmeade, and I'm excited to be on the air in the capital city. Be sure to tune into my show. I'll be giving you all the latest news, information, and the truth you demand. The Brian Kilmeade Show is live from 9 till noon, right here on Real Talk 93.3.
Coming up next, more of the Jeff Cameron Show. Live and local on Real Talk 93.3. WVFT, Crescent, Tallahassee. Your Sports Flash update on Real Talk 93.3, brought to you by Fulmar's Pawn, Gun and Gold. More than you might expect with 2 great locations in Tallahassee.
College basketball Tuesday night, Florida losing at home in Gainesville to the Missouri Tigers 83-82. Fifth-ranked Gators dropping to 15-2 on the season. They almost overcame a 16-point halftime deficit, but come up short. Walter Clayton Jr. at 28 points. Florida back in action Saturday hosting Texas. Florida State, they'll play tonight in Tallahassee against the Pitt Panthers. The Noles coming off a loss Saturday to Clemson by 20 points. They're 11-5 and 2-3 in the ACC. Despite that loss, Florida State has won 4 of their last 6. NBA, the Orlando Magic in action tonight. They're in Milwaukee to take on the Bucks. This is a 2-game trip with a stop in Boston Friday to face the Celtics. The Magic are coming off Sunday's win against Philadelphia, but they've gone 4-6 over their last 10 games. This sports update brought to you by Flomar's Pawn, Guns, and Gold. More than you might expect. I'm Tony DeZeri, Real Talk 93.3.
Shop can't miss deals going on now during Pro Savings Days at Lowe's. For a limited time, get a free adjustable stand when you buy a DeWalt 12-inch miter saw. That's a $229 value. Plus, save $680 on a Midea 4-piece kitchen appliance suite. Now just $17.96. Lowe's knows savings. Lowe's knows pros. Valid 1/13 through 1/24. Cannot be combined with additional discounts. While supplies last. See store at Lowe's.com for more details and qualifying items.
Anywhere else, Tuesday is just, well, Tuesday. But if you're at KFC, Tuesday is $10 Tuesday, which means you can get 8 hot, juicy drums and thighs for just $10. Let me say that again. 8 pieces of hot, juicy, original recipe chicken, hand-breaded in 11 herbs and spices, all for just $10 every Tuesday. Only at KFC. Because Tuesday isn't just Tuesday anymore. It's finger-licking good. Prices and participation may vary. Tax, tips, and fees extra.
222-7722. ACN Electric is what we do.
Hi, this is Jeremy Parker, owner of Parker Services AC and Electrical. As we welcome the new year, I want to take a moment to thank you, our loyal customers, for trusting us to keep your homes in Tallahassee, Crawfordville, and the surrounding areas comfortable throughout the seasons. It's been our honor to serve you in 2024, and we look forward to providing the same dependable service in 2025. From everyone at Parker Services, we wish you and your family a happy, healthy, and comfortable new year. Here's to new beginnings and lasting comfort.
222-7722.
Florida license CMC 050334 and EC 130144434.
Hey, no fans, our partner ISF Inc. is a national management and IT consulting firm located right here in Tallahassee, Florida, solving the future for state governments through strategy, process, and technology. As a trusted advisor for state governments, ISF knows the importance of defining a clear and detailed strategy. Our friends at ISF can help your organization create a strategy that sets you on a path to success. ISF, your vision plus our expertise brings your brilliant ideas to life. Visit ISF.com to learn more. ISF, solving the future. Science-backed, technology-tracked, and coach-led. Hey, Jeff Cameron here. You've heard me rave about the benefits of Orange Theory Fitness and the proven track record of science-backed interval training. Well, now Orange Theory Fitness has done it again, adding more ways for you to improve your health and look your best. In addition to the always great standard workouts, OTF has added Tread 50 and Strength 50 for those in the mood to just lift for an afternoon or attack those cardio goals for the day. Take the guesswork out of exercise. Make sure you're getting the most out of each and every workout. Orange Theory Fitness, location Midtown Tallahassee and Village Square Boulevard.
Florida's capital city. This is the Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness on Real Talk 93.3. Now, stop what you're doing and listen closely. It's time for the Jeff Cameron Show in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
solid, excitable, balls McWednesday effort on my part that it popped the mic.
I'm glad I had the over-ear cans on my my dome, not over the ears. That would have been a tough experience.
So somebody was mentioning in the chat a moment ago about the uneasy feeling they have relative to the conversation centered around establishing the run. But remember, that has to do with the fact that this is going to be the modus operandi of the offense. This is the emphasis. This is what Gus Malzahn does and has, even in his failed seasons, impressive stats rushing the football. So they are going to run the football. It doesn't mean they won't be able to do other things. Doesn't mean that they aren't going to try to do other things, but they're going to run the football.
I've seen it different places, different numbers, but they're either of the two are impressive. 19 seasons for Gus Malzahn running an offense, 16 or 17, depending upon where you look, 1,000-yard individual rusher. I mean, he finds a bell cow and he works that guy to hell, and I love that.
Running backs will, if you win the job, be excited about that because they get the opportunity to build throughout the game and have some success and certainly compile stats. I said on yesterday's show that I do worry long-term about the viability of this offense as it pertains to recruiting elite wide receivers. It's a worry you're going to have when you embrace a style of play much like this one. Doesn't mean you can't have a star receiver, maybe even two. It does mean that you're not likely to have a stable of elite wide receivers waiting their turn. They'll go somewhere where the offense is more predicated on the pass first and foremost, and they get the chance to perform with a guy that's maybe an NFL caliber quarterback and less an elite runner. Maybe that's an attribute, but not what you think of immediately when you think of that individual. Not necessary for the offense to go, and somebody who's willing to throw the ball 30, 40 times a game minimum. That's where those receivers will flock to.
I'm okay with that right now. For where we are as a program, I mean, look, I'd rather be able to run the ball with conviction. It's not that can't be successful.
Because it guarantees a baseline of success, Tom.
Yeah, well, and also it's achieved the highest level of success when combined with good defense recently. Now, that hadn't been the case since Saban's first term of office, if you will, in Alabama. The first part of his tenure there, they had no quarterback play, and they didn't have a kicker. That was the talking point. God, they can't find a kicker, and they don't really have a quarterback that's going to project to the NFL worth a damn, but do they run the hell out of the ball? It was awesome to watch. Went away in the sport for a while, but Michigan just did it. And Notre Dame and Penn State made it to the Final Four, granted with some easy paths. Still, they're not leaning on three excellent wide receivers and a spread offense. They're saying we're going to run the ball right at you. So it can work.
Well, I think what you're saying here, I'll go back to, I repeated this, or I'll repeat this now.
I said what I'm saying.
I'll repeat this. I think that what you're searching for is a much higher floor, right? You're getting to a place where if you recruit well and you maximize your abilities within the scheme and you're able to establish the run, you have a quarterback that can execute it, you can win this conference. You can win 9-10 games. You can be in the conversation for the college football playoff. And when you've gone 2-10, that sounds awfully enticing. I do think, and we'll cross that bridge when we come to it, that if they're successful, and we're all rooting for that, if they're successful, that we'll get to a point in 2 or 3 years where it will be reasonable to ask, have we reached our ceiling running this system, running this scheme? But let's get there. You know, if you're a non-playoff team in pro football, you don't immediately start the conversation about the coach you want to bring in as being a guy that, hey, will you guarantee me we're going to win a Super Bowl? And how about we try to have a winning record? We've lost for 7 consecutive seasons. Can we make the playoffs? Can we get to the playoffs and start assessing what we are once we, are in the dance after the season, after the regular season? Once you get to a place where you're consistently making the playoffs, if you feel like you're hitting your head on the ceiling because of limitations, game management, whatever it might be from your head coach, the conversation shifts about coughed. The conversation shifts from, okay, look, we know that the floor has been raised. There's no getting around I feel like we're a season away from Todd Bowles having to deal with this in Tampa. Maybe some people are already doing it, but they've won the division of 4 years in a row. Todd is, at the very least, stable enough of a coach and a leader of men that they play hard for him and they win enough games to win the division every year. If you get to a place where you feel like the offense has merged into something that deserves more than that, than just making the playoffs, if you feel like you have the tools on defense to succeed and you're losing in the first round or you're losing games in the playoffs that you shouldn't, the Steelers right now. There's another great example. That is a coach that is unquestionably a leader of men. Tomlin's a guy that will not produce a poor season. Won't do it. It seems to me, no matter the personnel, they're going to win enough games to make the playoffs. Certainly, his entire career, they've had a winning record. So the floor is that we're going to win more than we lose. We are not going to be out here like the Carolina Panthers and the New York Jets and the Chicago Bears and a slew of other teams that will routinely embarrass themselves and be, these days in a 17-game schedule, 3-14, 4-13. Come on. That's not going to happen.
Tony Dungy went through that. So did Andy Reid in Philadelphia.
Yes, he did. You get to a place where, okay, great, good, nice to know we're not going to suck.
Yeah.
And then after a while, that's not appreciated as much. But you got to get to that place.
Right. Yeah, well, for Reed and Tony, it's 12-win seasons or 13-win seasons. But, early exits or flop performances out of nowhere. And look, man, that's what Brad Childress is that way.
Mike McCarthy.
Yeah. Yep.
Prior to this injury-riddled season they just had, they had 3 consecutive seasons of winning 12 games in Dallas and making the playoffs. So we have it twisted and Mike's won a Super Bowl. We look at his 16 years in the league, and you talk to somebody, and they'll say, Mike McCarthy. Well, Mike McCarthy's gone to the playoffs 12 times in those 16 years.
Take a look at his resume next to Sean Payton's, and it's really not that different.
They've each won a Super Bowl. They've each had success with 2 different programs. Right.
And you could say that without that quarterback, they don't win. You could also say maybe they underachieved, but nobody talks about Payton the way they talk about McCarthy. The resumes are basically the same.
So my point would be that there's a baseline that guarantees a certain level of success for the most part, barring an injury-riddled season, that you can count on, but people get tired of that. Well, Florida State's in a place right now after last year's 2-10 where it's very easy just to sell being in playoff contention and having a shot to win the ACC. And we can get into, do you really believe that ultimately you'll maximize your efforts and be at peak efficiency for Florida State running this system, Gus Malzahn's system? Are you going to get the caliber players long-term that you should be getting at Florida State? Or will you just get guys that can obviously execute what his game plan is and do enough to win 9-10 games? It's up for debate. Let's find out. Let's win 9-10 games a couple years in a row and then have the conversation.
Well, this is where there's an NFLization of college football. I'm not talking about NIL.
Because we've gone to 12 teams.
Yeah. You can be SMU.
Yes.
You can be Indiana. How many programs now feel a sense of hope? Fan bases around the country feel a
James
sense of
Franklin
hope.
got a huge reprieve because they made the playoffs, and we know that it was a relative easy path to get to where they were in the playoff. But credits where credits due. James Franklin had how you're going 2-10.
Right.
They made the playoffs, they got beat, and there it is.
Yeah, if you're South Carolina or Missouri or Alabama, we can make the playoff next year. If you're USC, well, we could bounce back.
Well,
if you're Oklahoma,
yes, I think USC fans and FSU fans are right now probably feeling pretty similarly. Like, 2 fingers to my eyes, 2 fingers back to you, my man. What are we doing out here?
Well, Lincoln didn't go 13-0.
Even if you want to call it for what it was, 12-0 in the regular season, 13-1 overall. Either way. Yeah, he didn't.
That Utah problem.
Well, and many others. 4-5 loss seasons.
Boy, that would have been a good playoff game. Florida State, Utah. Woo.
Well, we wouldn't have won that game. Utah's played hard and played tough.
The 2023 version of us.
Oh, I thought you were talking about this past year.
No,
Yeah, like, come on,
certainly
man.
not. No.
That team didn't give up.
You play a playoff game with, I don't even know who.
I do think you've made several hires that guarantee you're going to be competent. You're going to play hard. I do believe you'll be very, very, very physical on both sides of the ball. That will feel revelatory to this fan base after what we just saw. We're going to be very excited how quickly it is that 12-0 season was in the rear view, because when you're mired in the muck of a nightmare, then you are going to take the reprieve that is winning football, kids that play hard, the basics being executed game to game, week to week, the things that you take for granted when you watch other programs that are not in the midst of a free fall. When you watch those programs execute week to week, you can then say, oh, they're not winning because they don't have a quarterback. They're not winning because they're not deep enough on the defensive line. They get worn down against teams that can really run the football. They're not winning because, and that's a very different discussion than, man, this is a dumpster fire. They don't do anything well, and to boot, they don't try very hard. That goes back to the point I was making in hour one, that's where vitriol comes from. That's where people say things that you feel like cross the line and it gets personal. And that's when people get angry when they've given money, they've spent time, they've driven or flown to come see the product, whatever it might be. Now, you throw into the mix, the timing could not have been any worse. You're in the midst of all of these changes. You're suing the ACC. You're revamping your stadium and asking for patience as you try to park, as you are told your seats aren't available. And oh, by the way, if you'd like them to be someday, you're going to spend twice as much as you're currently spending to get them back. In the interim, don't mind this makeshift seating and parking. Oh, by the way, what's your grand reward? Come watch us get our ass kicked. That's tough to go through. And I think that's also why this fan base is splintered to some degree. It's why Mike has a between every other word. It's why they are having these kinds of campaign launches. It's all of it.
Yeah, I agree. It's why all these things are happening. It's why all the are there. It's why the glazed over look is there. But if you're in the sales part of this, is when you got to roll up your sleeves. You got no choice. We've been in that situation before where you got no choice.
Never been in a situation where we failed to the degree, but yes.
No, but we need the numbers to work this month.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. It seems like the car industry is not investing in, or whatever industry it was. Let's find some money out there.
Well, it's SiriusXM. When I was working for SiriusXM for all those years, I remember being in on meetings where they're like, people aren't buying cars. And 50+% of how we make our money are new car sales. People don't ever equate that, by the way. That's how SiriusXM makes their money, is they make their money because you get a new car and they give you a free subscription in your new whatever it is you bought. And as you drive around, they're banking on the fact that you're going to like the diversity of programming. Mm-hmm. You're going to find a specialized station that you like, and you're going to think, well, I can't live without this. I love the Golf Channel. I love the college football. I love this. I'm gonna go ahead and pay the paltry $10 a month or whatever the hell it is. And then they've times that by the gazillions of cars that they've sold, and they're rich.
Oh my God, it's Nina Blackwood. I haven't heard her name in 30 years. I got to keep this subscription for 80s on 8.
That's what they counted on. And when people stopped buying cars, they said, well, college golf shows are niche. Shop.
But that's what's going on in this situation is, man, the pitch has to be all the better. This is when your pitch has to be impeccable right here, right now. Because when you're winning, you could make noises into the microphone that are gibberish, a lot of gibberish, and people with cha-ching, 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 they want to buy the ticket. They have to be a part of it right now.
Yeah, they want to be associated with a winner. They want to be associated with their alma mater, the team that they love, whatever it is, the city. Yes.
They want to know why right now, and you got to give them a why.
But I think, Tom, that just as important as to what you're saying there, the level of honesty and forthrightness and straightforward conversation has to be also at an all-time high. And that's kind of why, even though it was sort of tongue-in-cheek and somewhat fun, it was also serious what I was saying about, hey, take a deep breath. you've implored him to reach down deep and have these moments of honesty and connection with the fan base or the reporters in the room because it resonates. That it shows that there's a real person behind the rhetoric, if you will, that there's a person that recognizes and can connect what we're dealing with here. But at the same time, I think that that's true. If you're talking about a pitch always sounds like something you're trying to sell, like something you're trying to convince somebody of. But there's a very real chance at success at a place like Florida State, invested as they are. They have the understanding at Florida State, and this will be true long after Alfred's gone. It was this way before him. They don't always execute it in the way that we'd like. They're not always successful in their efforts. Sometimes they're downright boneheaded. Sometimes they employ people that leave you absolutely crestfallen upon getting to know them. There are all of these things that are true, but they've always operated under the guise of this cannot fail. Football cannot fail. It is the genesis of the great idea. This is what we can become is through football successes. Everything else benefits. And, we've compared it to Reagan's trickle-down conversation, economics and all of that, but it's true with Florida State football. They're all in. They anteed up years ago. Years ago. You knew it when they were adding on to that stadium back when I was in school, and they spent countless hours and investment dollars, et cetera, in making sure that the infrastructure and the commercial relationships that they were building were successful, and it was all centered around whether or not Florida State won games. And it will always be that. So because you know that, and because they're all in, and because they will spare no expense to try to win, I don't think you have to pitch too much. You have to be honest about the failure and how you're fixing it.
Yeah, understood. Well, I look at a pitch as there's a goal intended. You're not just talking to a group of people because you logged on to Zoom and you said, hey, I wonder if anybody's going to watch. I mean, there's a purpose.
Right.
And the purpose is to help fund the university. And Mike Norvell said last night, for example, at one point, there is an absolute need. Yeah, there is. That is true. That's not even a pitch. That's the truth. In this day and age of college athletics, there is an absolute need at all times to help separate yourself from the pack. But my point is, there are times when they'll say things like, well, we care just as much as you do. Some representatives of the university, like, you don't hold a degree. You can't say that.
But even if you did, it's just the wrong approach. It's condescending, it's chiding.
It's just give me a reason. Get into it a little bit. And this is where you and I are in a unique position for the PR firm. Because we are alum, we are fans. In addition to media trained, we are alum and we are fans. And when something is said, when you're doing a segment, when you say something, you can know in your own brain as you replay it in your head at half a second later, oh, yeah, that's from the heart, and that's like a lightning bolt out on the airwaves. Because usually that comes from a place of incredible humor and timing with some of our funny stuff. Or you're speaking with passion,
pride,
vigor,
passion,
and pride.
and love. Yes, but I think that
you just want to feel that sense of pride on a call like that. It's hard to do in a Zoom setting. I'm not saying it's an easy task. I'm just saying you walk away from that one saying,
you're going to boil everything down to a level of authenticity and a genuineness that has to be part of everything you do. I think that if what you're doing stems from that understanding, then it will always come across as believable for starters and authentic in a way that resonates with you. So you'll listen longer and contemplate what they're asking of you. Will also slow you down. You won't feel the need to deflect and to use filler and to do, you're not, because that's a sales pitch. Just talk. Because I do think Mike cares deeply about, the kids that he coaches, which is first and foremost. I believe that. If I didn't, I wouldn't think very highly of him. I do think Mike cares deeply about those kids. And I genuinely think Mike feels terrible about the fact that they went 2-10 last year. Now, I understand if I'm a booster or a fan, I don't really care that he feels bad. Great. He got paid a lot of money and he failed. And I'm not worried about whether or not he feels bad. I'm worried about whether or not he fixes the problem. Yeah, there's the nuts and bolts of that, but I think it does matter that's genuine.
Well, yeah, what I would say is lean into it. Lean into that.
Correct.
I'm mad as hell. Come away from that call as a viewer saying, oh, he's pissed.
But I think a measured mad as hell.
Sure.
A less evangelical and more, hey, look, it's clearly this was not acceptable. It's never going to happen again. It can. I won't be here if it does. I mean, you can just have that conversation.
The evangelical thing's a performance. You don't want a performance.
Right.
This is why, you did national shows for college football. I'm sure you did some segments where you were mad about certain things that programs were doing, maybe stupid decisions that a coach made or, inexplicable choices.
Yeah, sure.
But if it's Nebraska or if it's Southern Cal or if it's Texas,
that's when you have the people on who cover them.
Right. You can take it to a degree of stupidity and describing what's going on and people it'll resonate with people. When you talk about the Noles, that's why people listen to this. That's why I listened to the show when I was a student, because I know that you're coming from a place where it's personal.
Yeah,
this is personal.
Sure, you care. Yeah, I think that's true. I think that resonates. I think there's ways. I just at the end of the day, I don't think he's got to sell much. Is my point. I think he's got to just talk openly, honestly, concisely about what they're doing, the fixes within the program. I think he's got to be a total straight shooter about, hey, look, you're inconvenienced. There is no spring game. Sucks. We're all disappointed by it. But honestly, we got to make sure that stadium's ready to go for the Alabama game, which we are really pumped to play. And we are readying this team. Most assuredly, we are readying this team for a better campaign than what we just had a year ago, which was completely inexcusable and unacceptable. It bothers me every day I come to work, and we're working to that end to make sure it never happens again. That should be easy because it has to be how he feels.
You know it is. That's the
let it go. Right, it is.
Air it out, man. How about a rant that goes viral? Mike is mad as hell about 2024. Buy your season tickets. Give us booster contributions. People will be fired up.
Yeah, he's had a couple of them. I don't know that he needs any more right now. Now's a measured sort of, here we are. Let's get to work. He had a few, and there were some that resonated, some that felt contrived, some in between. I think we know the ones that resonated, and you're right when you make that point. It's Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio and Warchant TV.
Hey, everybody, this is Shannon Young with Cross Country Mortgage. Been in the industry now for 22 years. I just made the move over to the nation's largest retail lender, Cross Country Mortgage, here to serve you in 7 states, including Florida, Georgia, Alabama, the Carolinas, Tennessee, and the state of Texas. Here to offer better service, better rates, and if you were thinking about buying or if you've been on the fence and been waiting to call me, now is the time. You can still find me at loansforknowles.com. That is, again, loansforknowles.com. I've helped thousands of fellow Knowles get into their dream home, and I can't wait to help you get into yours. Give me a call today. I'm at 954-369-6171, or go to loansforknowles.com. Again, that's 954-369-6171, and that's loansforknowles.com.
Equal housing NMLS 373031.
This is Alex from Falmers. We've been buying gold and silver jewelry, fine watches, and other collectibles for over 45 years. But did you know Falmers buys and sells gold and silver coins, bars, and bullion? Don't get scammed online or pay high shipping and handling fees. Call or stop by Falmers for a quick and easy quote. No matter if you're new to investing in bullion or have been collecting a lifetime, Falmers is your local source for buying, selling gold and silver coins and bullion. Falmers, more than you might expect, with 2 great locations. As you probably know, Falmers buys, sells, and loans on just about anything of value. What you might not know is that when you buy something from us, we guarantee the total satisfaction of your purchase. Buy it, take it home, and if for any reason you decide you don't want it within 7 days, Falmers will give you 100% of your money back. And if you decide you don't want the item within 30 days, Falmers will let you exchange it for something you do want. At Falmers, we guarantee you're going to be happy with your purchase, or we'll buy it back. Falmers, check cashing, pawn service, and sales. 2 times more than you might expect, with 2 great locations.
The best happy hour in the city is at Café de Martín and El Bar. All day, every day, you can find great deals at Café de Martín while enjoying the best outdoor seating Tallahassee has to offer. Sip away on 2-for-1 house wines, chilcanos, and margaritas all day long, Monday through Thursday. Plus 2-for-1 pisco sours and margaritas on Fridays and Saturdays, and 2-for-1 mimosas for Sunday brunch. Come join us at Café de Martín, where every hour is happy hour, in the Esposito Shopping Center on Capitol Circle Northeast.
I'm Franklin, and I've been a Paul's termite technician for well over 10 years. Working for a great company like Paul's Termite and Pest Control is a blessing for my family and myself. I get tremendous satisfaction knowing that the work I do helps protect most people's biggest investment, their homes, the place where they raise their families and build lifelong relationships. Paul's is a company that stands behind their commitments to customers and employees, and that makes me proud to represent them.
I'm Jay. Having the privilege to work with people like Franklin and all of our employees is truly an honor. There is no doubt that the staff of Paul's Termite and Pest Control is the best in our industry. All of our people are local, and local really does mean something. We are North Floridians. Our kids go to school here. We shop here. We build relationships here, and we honor our commitments. To all of our customers, thanks for trusting us to protect your family, pets, and home.
For the elimination of termites, any other pests, and a greener lawn too, call Paul's. We'll get them all.
Science-backed, technology-tracked, and coach-led. Hey, Jeff Cameron here. You've heard me rave about the benefits of Orange Theory Fitness and the proven track record of science-backed interval training. Well, now Orange Theory Fitness has done it again, adding more ways for you to improve your health and look your best. In addition to the always great standard workouts, OTF has added Tread 50 and Strength 50 for those in the mood to just lift for an afternoon or attack those cardio goals for the day. Take the guesswork out of exercise. Make sure you're getting the most out of each and every workout. Orange Theory Fitness, location Midtown Tallahassee and Village Square Boulevard.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
I would think pretty early in that Alabama game, Tom, since we were talking about establishing the run, we're going to get a sense of how physical this team is on both sides of the ball week one and how much different that looks than what we saw a year ago in week 0, really. I mean, you'll know right away, buddy.
That would be one I would caution already here in January. If it's a couple of ugly drives to start, hang in there. Hang in there because
yeah, and I wouldn't use the result of that game as a projection to posit what they're going to be or not be long term with this regime shift. No, I'm with you on that.
Because what if it's 2nd and 6? Yay, everybody's going nuts. 3rd and 2, awesome, everybody's going nuts. And then you miss an open guy or everything's covered and you punt. Then you get the ball back and it's 2nd and 7. Okay, we're going to run the ball again. Castellanos, gain of 5, 3rd and 2. And then there's a stuff at the line and you punt again. That might be a quarter if Alabama wants to run the ball themselves. And that's your 2 possessions. And this team sucks. Hang in there. This is your way too early. Hang in there. Let's at least look at a half of football before we start to get antsy.
Yeah, and you're asking people, obviously, to be reasonable here about expectations. And
well, remember, last year started with one of the prettier first drives of the game you've ever seen.
One of the greatest drives we've ever seen.
It was almost like that Georgia Tech opening drive.
The retort? Well, allow me to retort, is what Georgia Tech said.
I had a mental block there. I was thinking Mike Norvell's first game. They go right down the field and score.
Before the lightning delay.
Yeah, it was the Jeff Sims game.
God, you want an example of how bad off we were there? Jeff Sims lighting us up like Joe Montana.
We started well, though.
We did. We had the pass down the heart to the tight end to Cam.
We'll give you a first drive against Georgia Tech. That's what we'll do.
I'm not going to I'm not going to jump to the kind of conclusions that you're worried about. Yes, in the game against Alabama, I am eager to go. It's because there is no spring showcase, and we saw people express some disappointment about that. I imagine there's going to be a segment of folks that are disappointed about that. We come at it from a different direction, and so it's not fair of me to say in the same way it is for people who come from out of town to see a game. Like, we live here, we're around the program every day. Spring Showcase pretty much sucks unless I'm coaching. So there's just not a lot that that I look forward to about it. It's never a game like I remember the days of being on the sidelines when it was a game, when it was an honest to goodness game, and you could get a real sense of what somebody was under the lights, under the stress of a 3rd and 3 run, a power play that was fully live. You're not getting that, So I don't care to watch people work on 2-point plays for the first 10 minutes.
Could have communicated that was coming.
On a windy day in which 3 picks are thrown. That, by the way, very specifically was a time in which I was hypercritical of Tate Rodemaker. I went, oh, man.
Well, we didn't know it was a 2-point play, which changes the decision you would make as a quarterback.
Right, you have to throw the ball, yes.
So that would have been nice to know.
Also still responsible for the worst interception ever thrown.
Didn't we see one in the NFL this year?
Perhaps maybe the worst decision.
Yeah.
I'm staring right at you. You're jumping it. I can't help myself.
You know who was in the running for that now? Was late in the game, a 4th quarter award? Jackson Dart at Florida. Those last 2 or 3 possessions.
Oh, my goodness gracious. Weren't those something to behold? You're right.
I think that disqualified them for the playoff alone. They could have lost one game, and if that was the one, they're done.
Did you did you have a moment in which immediately you thought back to yourself, well, where was that when I had the points and Florida was having to convert on 4th down repeatedly to upend this wager of mine?
The 3 times that Florida went 95 yards in the 4th quarter against Tennessee. Yeah.
It'll hurt your feelings.
It did. Still does.
9 p.m. tip tonight. Who's going to be awake for 11-5 FSU, 2-3 in the ACC, 12-4 Pitt, 3-2 in the ACC, to be televised on ESPNU. If 9 o'clock is your time of night during the week, then make sure you go get you a couple tall, cold ones and scream your head off at the TLC and root on the boys who are in desperate need to get a quad 1 win. Pitt, unfortunately, and it pisses me off to say this aloud because I had no idea of it before today, Pitt leads the all-time series, Tom, 17-7. We've been on the wrong end of some ass kickings with Pitt. In fact, Pitt's been better than us even since they just joined the ACC in 2014. They're 8-6. Met once last season. Panthers posted an 88-73 victory, shot the lights out because, of course, they did. 11 of 25 from 3, 33 of 59, nearly 56% from the floor. It was an annoying game. The ones against Pitt seem to be. So they got screwed on Selection Sunday last year, left out of the field of 68 despite going 22-11, 12-8 in the ACC with a net of 40. That's a bend over Pitt. Goodness gracious.
Don't need you.
They're on a 2-game slide. Blown out by Duke 76-47, dropped an 82-78 heartbreaker against Louisville at the Pete.
The 17-7 makes sense if you think about all the games we played up there. I see Noldad in the chat is noting that. The cafeteria.
Cafeteria, yeah, it's dark. It's hard to see in that place.
The lighting in there. Just
we always look like we're half asleep in these games against them.
Yeah. Yeah. It looks like in a dystopian movie, one of the shelters that the people run to and flock to.
So, again, a quad 1 matchup here. Pitt has a current net of 28. Clemson does have a net of 36. And North Carolina has a net of 37. They could all potentially move into that top 30 by the end of the regular season. So those would be representative of quad 1 games potentially. Noles, again, sitting at 73 in the net rankings, playing a top 30 team at home is 100% a quad win game, and you got to get it. You quad 1 win would be huge here for Florida State. So I don't have hope. I don't believe they'll win. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I desperately want to be wrong. There might be a little pep in your step on a Redemption Thursday if they were to get the win tonight. I'll ask you. You've been fighting off illness for a week.
Yeah.
You're feeling better, I can tell, but not all the way back. Will you make it to 9 tonight? You taking a nap after the show today?
There would need to be a nap. It is wholly dependent on a nap. Yeah. If I can get at least 45 uninterrupted minutes, then I'll be good to go. That gets me to 11 p.m. 45 minutes post-show gets me to 11 p.m. if I need it. So that's exactly the time that we would need in this instance.
Tom begged me to get organized and told me there was a way that I could do it and that they were a new sponsor, and that way was Rocket Money. Start of the new year is the perfect time to get organized. I recognize that. You know, we all set goals and prioritize what matters, and you think, am I wasting money? My financial wellness where it needs to be? Rocket Money, kind of combined with a real need to get buttoned up with my finances, seemed like perfect timing to join forces. Now, Tom did it before I did. In fact, a full week before I did. I just did it last night. I just now got signed up, thanks to the handy link you sent me, along with the subject heading, "Get signed up, a-hole." And I did. I did adhere to the get signed up portion of that message because I realized I was in the wrong. Rocket Money was doing the right thing by us, and you had already saved, what, now $100 and something a month, finding out that you were subscribed to unnecessary and perhaps now unwanted services.
Yes, it's in the mid 100s at the moment. I think I can get that up to $300 a month.
I'm worried because I've got to be honest with you, not unlike what Rocket Money has done for over 5 million users, saving a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions. I knew that the number would be sizable for me because I'm lazy when it comes to my financial wellness.
It almost makes you not want to do it.
It did. I think that I had put it off, but I did it last night. Luckily for me, $253 in unwanted services. That's a month. Damn it, man. $253, and I felt relieved to get there. I thought it might be more like $400. I really did. I don't know what I'm subscribed to. Who knows? Who really knows what they're subscribed to anymore? You click on it. That's a nice shirt. Oh, I'm a member now? What is this? Well, I found out what this is. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/game-on today. That's rocketmoney.com/game-on. rocketmoney.com/game-on. Rocket Money has over 5 million users. Just mentioned they've saved people over $500 million in canceled services. Boom. And now I'm saving. That's like a trip to the beach.
Hey, that sounds like a good idea.
Soon enough, we'll be doing just that. Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
This is meteorologist Paul Trombley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. Cloudy skies expected this afternoon with daytime highs approaching 58. Winds out of the northeast, 5 to 10 miles per hour. Slight chance of rain showers tonight. Lows dip down to about 40. Cloudy skies expected. Ample sunshine expected tomorrow. Slight chance for showers. Highs up a lot around 59. This report is brought to you by the Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Currently, it's 56 degrees.
Don't miss TSC Tuesdays every Tuesday morning at 7:30 a.m. during the Greg Tish Show. Find out what's happening at Tallahassee State College every Tuesday at 7:30 a.m. on Real Talk 93.3 FM.
Hey man, if you heard the sound, Calco Jewelry's the best in town. Rings, diamonds, earrings, bracelets, and more. And Calco Jewelry.
When was the last time you randomly did something nice for someone that means a lot to you? Now, I say this every day at the end of my show for everybody to be a better person today than you were yesterday. Well, one way to do that is to drop into Pintalta and get a gift for someone who deserves it. It'll brighten their day, their week, maybe even their year. You don't have to wait for a holiday or special occasion, so don't wait to go check out a true local gem, serving Tallahassee since 1988. Now sing along with me, and I'll see you at Pintalta.
There he is. Haven't seen this guy since, what was it? Oh, shoot. U2 at the Sphere in Las Vegas, baby.
Hey, how about that, man? Wasn't that fun?
Good show. Good show. Everything about it. Nearly perfect. Nearly perfect.
I had everything I could possibly want.
I wanted one thing, couldn't find it, and I looked everywhere. No Cubans.
What do you mean?
No Cubans.
There was Cubans.
No, I didn't see any Cubans.
Dude, I'm sure there was Cubans there. I mean, you know.
No, I walked around. There was a moment right before the show. I thought, got to find some Cubans. Nothing.
Dude, there's Cubans. There was Cubans. I'm sure there was Cubans.
In Las Vegas?
In Las Vegas.
No Cubans in Vegas.
There's Cubans in Vegas, man.
Eddie, there were no Cubans.
Chef.
The sandwich. There were no Cuban sandwiches. You're Cuban. Of course I know there were Cubans there.
Oh, the sandwich. Yeah, no, there probably wasn't many there in Vegas.
No Cubans.
No, not yet.
Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
Real talk fact number 44. Banging your head against the wall for 1 hour burns 150 calories. This is Real Talk 93.3, Tallahassee's Real Talk station. The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
Yeah, nicely done, Tom. Appreciate you in the chat here. Appreciate your gift. Screw the 58 concurrent fundraising campaigns benefiting God knows what. Focus on getting us out of the ACC now, not in 2096. Our limited war chest needs to be spent on lawyers and NIL, not on chocolate water fountains. Well, I don't think they're spending it on chocolate water fountains. I know what you're saying. The football-only facility falls under that umbrella.
Norvell did kind of hint at that last night, though, saying that in an era where caps are going to be governing most of the spending, facilities can be a difference maker. Let's not return to that era. I hear where Tom's concern is coming from. Let's not return to the era where the differentiator between programs is the facilities. Build the thing we need to build, and let's not go back to the era of having a rope swing and a ball pit and laser tag. You know, let's spend it on the player compensation.
Yeah, we've got to get I'm with you on the getting out of here. I do believe that they're doing everything in their power to get out of here. I just that we know the legal process moves slowly, and lawsuits in general oftentimes get everybody charged initially because you have the accusation, you have what the parties are at odds over, and you read the details of that, and it can even be salacious, and there are accusations and alleged things that have occurred behind the scenes, and everybody's involved, right? You go, oh, well, look at this. And then Joy Taylor slept with him too. And everybody, I can't stop reading this. And then it dies down. Then you're like, oh, anything happen? Anything coming from that? No, not yet. They got to do this, and they're going to file this other motion. Then they're going to file this other thing, and then this guy's got to do the thing. But then that's in North Carolina, and the thing that's happening here is going to be over here, and then there's just another month before that judge can look at it, and even then. But it's that's what happens. And then you kind of just, oh, well, I was fired up. I thought some things were going to be finalized. I thought we were going to have an opportunity to satiate the appetite for the money that we so desperately need from anything to do with the Big Ten or the SEC at this point, from the networks, the Big Two that run all of college football. and decide which are the principal players that will be the leads in the TV show that is the national championship playoff. It's hard to get cast in that thing. That's a TV show that typically, you may have had to have some high-profile gigs that get you invited. And those opportunities are born from, having a really good agent, like, say, ESPN or Fox. And we're out here. Some guy named Steve's trying to help us. Another dude named Jim is trying to help. I don't know. He says he's got connection. Doesn't feel like it to me.
You saw that TV deal fell through. The announcement where it was Warner/Turner Sports and Fox and CBS and ESPN all singing Kumbaya and making all live sports available.
Yeah, it fell through.
Yeah, not going to happen.
Venue or?
Yeah, it was a V word. Venue, probably.
VUE, maybe?
Mm-hmm.
Something along those lines. But meanwhile, the flagship is still 100% going forward.
Yes, exactly. All the cooks in the kitchen couldn't get together, I suppose, on a price. And then from there, the split. That's the only way that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there. But I did see that it fell through, and I don't know anymore what to think. I do keep waiting for some significant kernel of information that we can latch onto and consume and talk about regarding Florida State, because I know how desperate and how starved everybody is for that news, but I can't make it up. Nothing's happening. Well, nothing's happening for public consumption. Lots of things I'm sure are happening behind the scenes. But the longer it remains dormant, the more frustrating it is for fans, especially, again, the timing for all of the cluster F could not have been any worse. You come out swinging very publicly, and then you whimper off into your corner, and then you're telling people that, look, stadium's not ready. We need more money. Here's another.
We have a vision of excellence.
Oh, man.
Make sure you contribute to the coaches clubs, the boosters, the Vision of Excellence, the Bowden Society, the TBE. Yeah, it's tough. You need, in a way, you need to get back on the field sooner than later. In a way, the spring showcase is something you want to do just to give people something else to talk about.
Well, yeah, when you are coming up short and you don't have things that help you ring the bell, the successes that you can kind of point back to that are recent, it's tough. Like, for example, I keep reading these stories, and I won't bore you too much with this, but every major free agent in Major League Baseball, Soto and really any of the other guys, you just had it with Ohtani, Japanese pitchers, like the one that signed last year with the Dodgers to help lead the rotation. Was it Yamamoto? Who was that?
Yeah,
was that his name?
Yamamoto.
Okay. Well, there's another guy now that
Sasaki.
everybody's bidding on.
Damn it. Yeah. We got eliminated.
You did get eliminated. Yeah. So did the Yankees, though. So don't feel bad about that.
I don't know. We've got a richer owner. I don't feel bad about it.
No, but I'm saying, like, that guy who was dictating terms to people said, I only want to play for
Toronto, San Diego, and
the Dodgers. Yes. Well, what made me laugh about that is, why do they keep doing that to the poor Toronto Blue Jays, who can't land nary one of these guys? All of the free agents seem to use Toronto as means for leverage, right? Well, I could go to Toronto, but they're not going to Toronto. And these poor Toronto Blue Jays fans are like, we may get Ohtani. No, you're not getting Ohtani. We may get Soto. You never were going to get Soto. We may get Yamamoto. You ain't getting Yamamoto. You may get Sasaki. No, you ain't getting Sasaki. We both know you're not getting him.
You're getting who you draft. That's who you're getting.
You're not getting him. You're the Toronto Blue Jays. And while Toronto is lovely, you're not getting these guys. And so I feel like if you're Toronto, initially, it's a hell of a boon to be able to tell people, look, I mean, we lost out to the Dodgers, but what are we supposed to do there? West Coast, $700 million. Sweet Jesus, what were we going to do? It's no big deal, but he considered us. He was on a plane. We just got to stay in the fight. Next big guy that comes down the pike, we'll throw our name in the hat. We're serious. All right.
Who reported that? I forget. Was it Nightingale or John Heyman? Somebody was adamant he was on a plane.
Yeah, that he was on a plane.
He might have been. So was Greg Schiano to Tennessee.
Well, and then the fans revolted.
That's right.
They were barbarians at the gate. But then they
were
did
shooting off flak cannons.
then the same thing happened.
Jesus.
Yeah, the same thing happened with Soto. The same thing happened with Yamamoto. The same. Now, if you're a Toronto fan, you're like, just stop it. Stop saying it. We're not going to get that player. You know it, and I know it too. We're not in the running. You're getting used. Stop it. In fact, the next high-profile player that says they want to be a member of the Toronto Blue Jays and are knocking on the door to sign the deal, say, go away. Go away. We don't want you. We don't want you. Just so we can have a measure of revenge.
Maybe that's the approach. Maybe that's the way you
play
get
hard
the
to
yes.
get.
You play hard to get.
Play hard to get.
You ignore them.
Jeff, I've called you 4 times the last 3 days since we had dinner, and you just not even a response. Beep. It's a voicemail. She was leaving a
I should say that'd be great if that was you face to face with the person. Your response.
Beep.
I think he's nuts. You might have dodged a bullet. I don't know why, but I find that more attractive.
I'm going to start doing that to people when they get mad at me and they're on a diatribe on the phone. I'm going to go, beep. That's the end of the message. Have a good one.
I will use that when you're pissed off about something we did in a football game this fall. And I hope it's not used between now and then. So it's a deep cut for the people that were here on January 15th. That they get to appreciate that while the casuals come in and are totally confused by the situation.
Price to fly out the door right now at Pinch a Penny. Go over and see that massive inventory off of Greer Street, man, and the 5-seater to boot. Beep. Vacuums, pumps, nets, covers, chemicals, the whole kit and caboodle. And if you've got an old, sorry hot tub that's been needed to be put down for a long period of time, they'll come get it. They'll even give you money for it towards that 5-seater if that's your
taking the hot tub to the vet.
If that's your cup of tea, they'll come get that dilapidated hot tub, throw it in the back of a truck, and say, come on in, get you a new one. Pinch a Penny Pools and Spas, if you're ready to relax, they're ready to show you how right now, and it is extremely affordable. Hour number 3, it's a fun hour. I don't think Bill Belichick's going to coach North Carolina. I'll talk about it next hour.
Listen to what people are saying about ACL Home Inspections.
They took the time to explain every detail, providing clear insights and answering all of my questions.
I needed an inspection quickly. ACL scheduled me within 24 hours, and the inspector was able to arrive early. That was a huge bonus, and my 2 dogs absolutely adore him.
ACL Home Inspections will accompany you on a walkthrough inspection of the home you want to buy, then provide you with an easy-to-read digital